The winter air in Frost Hollow was colder than ever. Snow blanketed the streets, muffling the sounds of the small town. People spoke in hushed whispers, locking their doors before sunset. The sheriff's office was quieter than usual, but Sheriff Mike Carter knew why. Everyone remembered the monster. Everyone remembered Conrad. It had been weeks since the night of the attack. No one had seen Conrad since he vanished into the woods, and the other werewolf's body had disappeared before anyone could return for it. The only thing left were deep claw marks on the trees and a lingering sense of dread, but the town had begun to move on, at least, they tried to. Until the disappearances started again. Mike was sitting at his desk when the call came in. "Sheriff," the voice on the other end whispered, shaking. "It took my brother. We found his rifle, but there was blood. A lot of it." Mike gripped the phone tighter. "Where?" "The old logging road. Near the river." Mike grabbed his coat, his gut twisting. The last time people disappeared in that area, a nightmare had followed. By the time he arrived, the sun was setting. The search team had already begun sweeping the woods, their flashlights cutting through the thickening dark. "Find anything?" he asked George, who stood by the river's edge, staring at the water. George shook his head. "No tracks. Just blood. Like something dragged him away." Mike exhaled sharply, glancing at the tree limb. The snow was undisturbed, yet something felt off. The wind had died. The air felt too still. Then he saw them, eyes glowing yellow in the darkness. A deep growl rumbled from the trees. The search team froze. "Run!" Mike shouted, raising his rifle, but before he could fire, something fast and massive leapt from the shadows, knocking a man off his feet. His scream was cut short by the sickening sound of tearing flesh. Panic erupted. Gunshots rang out. Flashlights swung wildly, casting chaotic beams of light as the team scattered. Mike turned, aiming at the creature, but it moved too fast. Claws slashed through another man, sending him sprawling into the snow. Blood splattered across the ice. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it stopped. Standing at the edge of the trees, it towered over them. A monstrous figure, fur matted with fresh blood. Its golden eyes locked onto Mike, and then, it spoke. "Leave." The voice was deep, guttural, inhuman. Yet there was something almost familiar about it. Mike's blood ran cold. The werewolf turned and vanished into the forest, leaving only the echoes of its growl. Back in town, Mike sat in his office, staring at his trembling hands. He had seen werewolves before. He had fought them. But this one, it wasn't like the others. It spoke, and worse, it let them live. That meant something. A knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. George stepped in, his face grim. "Got something you need to see," he said. Mike followed him outside. The wind howled through the empty streets as George led him to the town's welcome sign. The words had been carved deep into the wood. "Stay out." The cuts were too big to be human, and beneath them, in the snow, were footprints leading back into the woods. The hunt wasn't over. It was only just beginning.